What's up, guys? I'm Dwayne, and I am Blackboard Gaming, where I teach you about all these great board games that are out there, waiting to be played by you and yours. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complication. How you guys doing? So today, I am going to do my very first board game wrap up of 2022. I said that going into the new year, I was going to do board game wrap up videos and talk about the games that I played within the past month. So, of course, this is the first one because, we just got out of January. And I'm excited to talk about these games because I love my board games. I'm passionate about board games. And I said that going into New Year, I was going to play more board games, old and new. So let's get to the list. I wrote, I was at work thinking about this and I wrote my games down on a guest check. So if you see me pull this up, this just to help remind me. Now, on my list, there are 18 games that I played in the month of January. Now, some of you out there are thinking like 18 games, how did you find the time? And like I said, I'm passionate about board games and I got to get it in where I can fit it in, because that's what I love to do. Now, there are some of you out there that are thinking like 18 games, rookie, I could do that in my sleep. And that's cool. So let's get right to it. So the very first game that I played in the month of January was a game I played on New Year's Eve, and that game is called Rolling Realms. Now, Rolling Realms is a roll and write where the players are writing on cards using dry erase markers. And I introduced my wife to this game late last year, and it didn't really meet her fancy, and I could understand why. Because in the game, the realms. So the game is published by Stonemaier Games. Jamie made this game at the beginning of the pandemic so people can play it through Zoom or print and play. And people loved it so much that he made a physical copy of this game. And the realms represent other games in that Stonemaier has published. And so my wife, being a casual gamer, she doesn't know a lot about Stonemaier games. Whereas me, I know all how they work, love them, all that. So I could really enjoy it more, you know, because you're trying, like I said, in the game, you're trying to get the most stars in order to win. So fortunately, this game has a great solo mode. So, which is what I play, and the solo mode is pretty much like you're playing a golf game and you're trying to meet par using certain realms. And so I really enjoyed this game, and that is Rolling Realms. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play this game a lot because I just want to go through the whole golf game. Now, the next game, and I don't have these rated in any order, not favorite to least favorite or whatever. But the next game is a game that my wife and I played and really enjoyed, and we did a review for it. And I'm gonna leave the link to the review in the comments below, or in the description below rather. And that game is Maglev Metro. I don't know. Every time I say Maglev Metro, I be wanting to say micro macro, but Maglev Metro. So Maglev Metro is a pick up and deliver game where the players are building up this state of the art subway system, and the components in this game are so great. Just the whole aesthetics of the game, and like I said, I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about it because, like I said, you can watch the review. But there's two things I have to say. One, once I started playing the game, I knew I was gonna really enjoy it, but I also was kind of afraid to enjoy it because if I tell my Friday evening game group about it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you like train games, huh?" Well, we got some train games for you, and they get into the heavier games like 14. They did, what is it called, 18x games. And I was like, no, I'm not ready to cross that bridge yet. So I'll stick with Maglev Metro. The other thing is, in the review, I mentioned how it was hard to tell the difference between the gold robots and the copper robots. And, you know, Bezier Games was kind enough to send me replacement copper robots, which were a distinct difference from the gold robots. And I really thank you, Bezier Games, for listening to the woes of an old man. I really appreciate that. So, the next game on my list is Lost Ruins of Arnak. Now, I have to say, Lost Ruins of Arnak is in my top 10 games of all time right now. I really love the theme of this game. I when I was heavy into video games, I really love the Tomb Raider series and the Uncharted series. Just that whole sense of adventure and discovery, the quest that's involved. And I mean, I really just, Lost Ruins of Arnak just fits that theme for me. And it is a beautiful game on the table. The art is amazing. Now, I have a afternoon game group on Friday and then a Friday evening game group. So my afternoon game group, I meet up with Deb at our flag store. And for those that don't know, flag stand is an acronym for Friendly Local Game Store. And she's the manager of that store. So sometimes we meet up there to play games, and I introduced her to Lost Ruins of Arnak. And I was happy because it was the first time I really got to play with my upgraded pieces. So the original game came with these nice tablets and arrowheads and red gems, but they had cardboard coins and cardboard compasses. And I was like, oh no, I got to get these upgraded. And I was, looking on Facebook at the board game barbecue community on their Facebook page, and somebody had bought these upgraded compasses, And I commented like, where did you find those? And he told me, and I immediately bought them. So that added to the joy of playing with those upgraded components. So that's Lost Ruins of Arnak. The other game I introduced Deb to that, she's be looking for games to introduce to her mom. So I introduced her to Herbaceous. And Herbaceous, you are planting your garden, your spice garden. You have a private garden, you have a public garden. And so you draw a card, you're drawing two cards from the herb deck. And the first card, you draw them one at a time. First card you can put in the community garden or you can place it in the private garden. And then when you draw your second card, you have to put it in the opposite garden. And you're trying to create sets. Like you can choose to pot your herbs. And like you have a pot that only takes pairs of herbs. You have a pot that only takes all different herbs. And you got a pot that all the herbs in that pot got to be the same, and you score points based on that. And it's just a really quick, easy game. And so she really enjoyed it, and I think they had some of those in their inventory, herbaceous, and she bought a copy to show to her mom. And I really appreciate. I love that. When I show somebody a game and they like, I like it, I'm gonna buy it. And that's herbaceous. Now, the next game is a game that's always compared to Lost Ruins of Arnak. Which one do you like more? Lost Ruins of Arnak or Dune Imperium? So, my evening game group, it was my choice. We always switch up choices. And that night it was my choice. So, I picked Dune Imperium. And I wanted to play it. I really like Dune Imperium. Now, I like Arnak more, but with Dune Imperium, I know nothing about the Dune lore. I haven't read the books. I haven't watched the movies at all. Now, with that said, I really like the worker placement deck building of Dune Imperium. Now, there is one thing, like when I played the game, I got off to an early lead in points, and then I ended up in last place. So I'm like, okay, I'm missing the strategy. So I ended up, like, I have a copy of my own copy. I played with somebody else's copy, but I had my own copy, and I ended up playing a couple games solo so I can try to figure out the strategy. And I realized that when you buy cards to go in your deck, make sure the deck, those cards have symbols where you can go visit the factions to gain up your alliances with those factions. And I was like, okay, I lost the first solo mode. and then I won the second one. So I'm at Dune Imperium, great game. I loved it. Like my Arnak more, but that's just cause of theme. You know. Now the other game I chose to play that night is a game called Icky. Now Icky, if this had not been a reprint, this would have been either my top number one or number two game of 2021. Icky is like I picked it up because of the box art, but I gravitate towards Asian themed games, and I was really interested. This game kind of reminded me of, it's an old movie. It's like The Blind Swordsman. It's an old kung fu movie or Asian movie rather, um, and I love this game. So in this game, you are an entrepreneur who are hiring artisans and merchants and to set up shop on the street. And the street is like a rondel. And you're walking around the street visiting your merchants and artisans, also visiting the other players, merchants and artisans to just different ways to score points in this game. So I really love this game. I love the components. The Your main meeple is he has a look like a samurai with a man bun, and you got the other little I don't know what they call them, but those meeples have the hats, and the art in the game is just phenomenal. It's beautiful, colorful, and they really enjoyed Icky, and I had a good time with this game. I love this game. So, I look at the list, remind myself. Oh, yeah. So, the next game I want to talk about is a game I bought. I saw it when Gen Con was coming up, and they do the list of games that's being shown at Gen Con on the Board Game Geek website, and I saw this game and I was immediately attracted to the art. Like I said, I gravitate toward Asian themed games, and that game is Bitoku. So I ended up picking up Bitoku, and I've heard that it's a lot going on in this game, and at the time, but the game just reminded me, when I got into anime, one of the first movies I watched was Princess Mononoke, and so this game reminded me of that. So in Bitoku, the the great forest spirit is retiring. Let's just, for lack of a better word, he's retiring. I don't know what he's doing on his retirement, but the players are trying to become the next great spirit of the forest. Now, they say that like this game looks like a lot, and I had it on the table, and I did a two-player Rahdo style, run through to learn the game or whatever. And it's really, once you get past the teach, it's actually it's an easy game to learn, but it is a point solid. And when I say point solid, this point solid has a lot of ingredients. So you have to figure out, like, how am I going to score these points? It's so many different ways to score points in this game. But the game is beautiful. Like, and I know I keep saying aesthetically, but it is just beautiful. It brings you in, So at the time of this recording, I would have taught, a 3-player game of this game, and we, well, when I taught it, it's in February, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. So I'll tell you at the next board game wrap up video how that went, okay? But I love Bitoku. It's just a great game. Now, the next game, speaking of aesthetically beautiful, is a game called Honey Buzz. Now, my Friday afternoon game group, Deb, I introduced her to Honey Buzz. She has a copy, but she never got a chance to play it. So I said, okay, I'll bring my copy. We're going to play this. And we ended up playing 2 games of that. We played one. She was like, let's play it again. And Honey Buzz, art, components, worker play. You're sending your bees out. So in the game, the players had like represent a beehive or whatever. And they have discovered like, hey, we make honey, why not monetize? You know? So they're sending their bees out, making honey, and then they're going to market to sell it, like selling it to the bears and the raccoons and the foxes in the forest, you know. And so this game is just real. It's not hard. It's a light game, and it's not a long game, but this game is just the experience of it is so great. Elf Creek Games has that when they make a game, they make a game when it comes to components and art. You know, they pay attention to all that. And she really loved Honey Buzz. So, you know, there you go. There's Honey Buzz. Now, the next game is you know, Ralph was one of my guys in the evening game group. It's Ralph, Brian, and Ted. I'm not gonna tell you which one is the guy, but anyway, it was Ralph's choice, and he introduced me to an older game that's supposed to be coming out with a reprint this year, and that game is called Ra. Like, and Ra is an auction game where you're spending tiles to gain these tiles to score points. It's a set collection game, and I really enjoyed Raw. You know, I like sometimes when I hear auction game, I'm like, I don't, cause you know I'm not good at knowing when to, like, okay, get that or should I get that or whatever. But Raw, I really enjoyed. You know, and he had the upgraded board game geek components. You know, so that helped the experience. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing Raw. You know, for an older game, it's great. You know, so I'm glad that they're doing a reprint. Now, the next game he chose that night was The Hunger. And so The Hunger is pretty much, you know, what attracted me to The Hunger, what gave me, you know, piqued my interest was one, people say it plays like Clank, which is one of my favorite fantasy deck building games. Um, and in in Clank, I mean, I'm sorry, in The Hunger, we are vampires who are leaving the castle to try to get humans for points. And we get farther from the castle, you know, but then we have to get back to the castle before the sun comes out. And if we don't get back to the castle, then we pretty much die. We have to be at least at a certain point where we don't die or whatever. If you make it all the way back to the castle, you get a certain number of points. Now, The Hunger, like, the other thing that piqued my interest is the only other vampire game that I've played that has a vampire in it is Horrified and Fury of Dracula, you know. So, if I was to say, if I actually rated these games, The Hunger would probably be my least favorite. And I don't think it's not the game's fault. It's just a couple things happened in that game that kind of like messed the experience up for me. So the first thing is one of the humans you can put, like, it's a deck builder, and one of the humans you can put in your deck is a drunk, that a human that's tipsy. And the thing is, when he comes out, he makes you go 4 spaces farther away from the castle. And you're trying to get further away from the castle, but then at this, you know, when it get towards the end of the game, you're trying to get back. And so I kept, you know, I got one of those humans early on because that was one of the in-game goals. You get score extra points for each of those humans. But that human did not work out for me. You know, it did not, because when I was trying to get back there's ways to get those cards out of your deck, but you know, there's certain spots on the board, and I could not get to those spots because it just wasn't coming up at that right time. So, also, when you consume the humans, now there are some humans that are like little kids, and I was like, yeah, this is a one and done for me, you know. So I mean, if you're into that, that's fine. It's a cool game, you know. But yeah, this is a one and done for me. So that's The Hunger. The other game we played that he chose, he asked me to bring my copy, was Picture Perfect. Now, Picture Perfect, my wife and I have played that and done a review for that one. And in Picture Perfect, you're trying to take a family photo, but each member of the family, including the plant, have preferences of where they want to be in the picture. So you're trying to figure out how to place these guys, and you have limited information on how to place these guys. So you're trying to place these guys in the right spot, and then you score points at the end of the game, and whoever has the most points has taken the perfect picture. And they really enjoyed the game. Now I introduced this game to them before, but Ralph brought his wife, and she's a sweet person, and she loved it also. We played it, and it's just funny. That Picture Perfect is a great game. So the next game, okay. So next game is a game that I also introduced to my wife. We did a review for, and my Friday afternoon game group. It was, not only Deb, but a co-worker of mine. Her name's Jamila, and we played Roll Camera. Now, Roll Camera, cooperative game where we are making a film. And it's a dice chucker worker dice placement game. You send your dice as workers, and the dice don't have pips on it. They have different departments, like the camera department, the lighting department, sound, actors, special effects, all that, And you're trying to build the set and film these scenes and deal with problems that come up. And the best thing about this game, one, it's hilarious. Because some of the problems that come up is hilarious. Like somebody that nailed the set to the floor, or alligators and got into the room where we're filming or whatever. And the other thing I love, because it keeps everybody involved, because there's a spot, you send a dice and you have a reduction meeting, and everybody has ideas in their hand, so we get to discuss those ideas. And like, okay, who got this idea? Who got the best idea? And whoever has the best idea, we use that idea, but we could take another one of the ideas and put it on a to-do list. Like this is a good idea. We need to think about that some more. So we really we was just sitting there laughing our butts off. We were having so much fun in that game, and that's Roll Camera. Now the other game that I introduced them the same day was The Loop, another cooperative game where we're temporal agents trying to stop the plans of evil Dr. Foe. He's going around in different time zone, times like the dawn of time, or Renaissance, or the time of industrialization and all that, and he's just cutting up. So we're traveling through those times, trying to stop him, defeat his clones, and stop him from doing what what he's doing. Now, in Roll Camera, we won. We made a great film. I forgot to mention, in Roll Camera, how you win is you make a film, but it has to be at least okay, like not bad, or so bad that it's good. So we actually made a critically acclaimed film. We pulled it off, and that we were sitting there just raising our hands up. Now in The Loop, we lost. That's just it. Dr. Foe got us. But they really enjoyed that game also. Once they figured out, like, okay, this is how you do that. You go and you can move, you can activate your cards, and you can loop, which means you can do those certain card actions again. And so those are two cooperative games. Now, next game in my evening game group, they know I love pirate themed games. So it was Ted's turn, and he was like, if you like pirate themed games, you need to play the pirate themed game. And that is Merchants and Marauders. Now, in Merchants and Marauders, it's like a sandbox game. You're sailing your ship around, doing missions, finding treasure, delivering goods, attacking other pirate ships. Now, he knows that my favorite game of 2021 was Shiver Me Timbers. So he's like, let's try Merchants and Marauders. Now, I really enjoyed Merchants and Marauders. Now, thing is, like, sometimes how to resolve certain things, you have to toss dice. Now, and I love chucking dice, but as another content creator always says, the dice ain't nice. you know, and the dice don't be nice to me. So I think that's the only thing. Like Shiver Me Timbers will still be at the top of my list. You know, but I did like if anybody brought Merchants and Marauders to the table, I would definitely play because it's pirates. I love my pirates, and it goes back to what I said about Tomb Raider, the adventure and the quest and all that. So the next game that's on my list, let's see. Oh, I went through. Oh, so I introduced the next Friday. I introduced Deb and Jamila to Kibitos because I know they both like Quacks of Quedlinburg. So I say, have you played Kibitos? And Kibitos is a bag building game without the bag, and you're chucking dice. It's a race game, and you're trying to race your little meeple, animal meeple, around this board, and you're chucking dice to gain like feat symbols that gives you movement and some coins that let you buy other dice because you're buying dice to better your rolls and all that. Now, back to the dice ain't nice thing. So I got an early lead, but then they came around. I lost horribly in that game. But Kibitos is just a fun game. I do the same thing in Quacks of Quedlinburg. But yeah, Kibitos, they really liked it, and that's Kibitos. That was one of a really great game out of 2021. Now, the next game that we played, oh yeah, this one. Origins First Builders. I love Origins First Builders. So in Origins First Builders, it's like, what if aliens, at the dawn of civilization, aliens came and they was like, hey, let's help these guys. Let's, help them build up their civilization. And so pretty much it's a dice worker placement game, and you're sending your dice to visit these motherships, but it's based on the pips. Like these motherships have certain pips on them, dice pips. So if it's a level 1, you can send a level 1 dice there, but once you visit, it moves to a level 2. So now your dice got to be quote unquote smarter. So if you have a level 1 dice, you can't go visit that level 2 mothership unless you spend some wisdom. And you're going there to take actions to build up your civilization in front of you, or you're moving up the zodiac track, or you are going to build up your military strength. And like Origins First Builders just kind of gave me like a Teotihuacan vibe. Like Teotihuacan is a game that's definitely in my top 10 of all time. And so this game kind of gave me that vibe. And I really love this game. I love the aesthetics of this game. I love the little motherships that's on the board and all that. So I really enjoyed Origins First Builders. So the next game is a game that my wife and I just recently put a review up. And that game is Creature Comforts. Creature Comforts. Such a great, relaxing game. And in Creature Comforts, you represent a critter family who you're trying to craft comforts preparing for the winter. Now, it sounds familiar. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of Everdell, because Everdell is my favorite game of all time. But in Creature Comforts, it's a worker placement game, but you also placing dice. Like you can send a worker out there, but you have to be able to send that specific pip of dice out there to activate that action. So it adds a certain depth of strategy. First you send your worker, then you roll the dice because you don't know if the dice is going to be nice, and then you set the dice out there, and you're crafting. We got sent the deluxe edition from Kids Table Board Games. Thank you again. And I mean, this game is just really that's a family game. That's a really fun family game because the art on the cards is just comfortable. It just brings you in. So I'll leave a link in the description below so you can see that review also. Also with a roll camera. Now, how many more I got? I don't know how many that is. Oh, I believe that's 18. Wow. Well, no, I got one more. There it is. The last game on my list, I believe that's some, yeah, the 18th game is a game. I started this list with a rolling right, and I'm going to end it with a rolling right. And that game is Trek 12. Trek 12, like I say, is a rolling right where you are climbing the Himalayan mountains, you know. And so you have the paper in front of you, and you're rolling dice, and you're filling in the circles on this mountain. And what you're trying to do is create like links of numbers in ascending order or areas of the same number. Now, what do you do when you roll the dice? You have like, you can take the higher value, you can take the lower value, you can subtract one dice, the number on one dice from the other dice. You can never do negative. You can add those dice together, or you can multiply the dice, the results on the dice. So, like I said, if you got a 5, you can use a 5, and then the other one's a 1. You can use the 1. You can add them together, make 6. Subtract 5 from 1, make it 4, or multiply 5 and 1. And so the thing is, when you do that, each of those options, you got 4 times to do that option, and you cross out a square. Once you cross out the 4th square, you can't do that anymore, you know. And so, like I said, you're trying to make links of number in ascending order, or you're trying to make areas of the same number. And like, you cannot place more than 12 in those circles. Now, if you do the other paper, the other mountain that has the darker circles, then you can't go over 6 in those areas. I think I'm saying that right, you know. But anyway, I played this game at least 6 times. So I would say this is the game I played the most of in January. And, you know, I just sat there and I played it, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. And I played it again. So I usually don't gravitate towards rolling rights because I like the chunky components or whatever. But with Rolling Realms and Trek 12, I'm like, okay, I can start checking out some rolling rights. Now, I mean, I have like, if I was to say the game that I played the most of all time would be Doggone Clever. But I played it on the app. And I have a physical copy of the game, but I have the app version. So I used to play that all the time on my phone. So like I said, get it in where you can fit it in. So Trek 12, this game just came out. You know, this game is good. I really love, I can't wait to try this game out with my wife, but I don't know how she feels. Like, she's a teacher, but you know, each teacher, they're good at, you know, they're the wordsmiths, or they're really good at math, or they're really good at social studies or whatever. You know, I mean, she can do math, but I don't know if she wants to do math on her spare time. Me, I'm a Sudoku guy, so yeah, I got that, no problem, you know. So that is 18 games that I've played in the month of January. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope I have spoken eloquently about these games, because I know, you know, there's some people, some content creators are there. When they talk about games, they are very eloquent, very informative, and all that. You know, I'm not a board game expert. I just really love playing board games. I love them. So, you know, so I hope I have at least, you know, spoken informatively and to let you know about these board games. So I cannot wait to the next board game wrap up, because, you know, I got a game on the table that I can't talk about now because it's February 6th, which is my birthday. So thank you. If you like the contents of this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm Dwayne. I am Blackboard Gaming, and I will see you next time.